Manual safeties. On handguns, I don't like them. What we have right here is a SAR USA, whatever. I just grabbed something that has a manual safety on it. Safe and clear. So right here, you have the manual safety. It's ambidextrous. You also have it on this other side. And what you do is you lift your thumb up, safety is engaged, put your thumb down, safety is disengaged. So a lot of people, they get real bent out of shape. They say, oh, I need a handgun that has a manual safety on it. And this is what I tell them when they are in a class with me and they say something like that. I say, first of all, you're going to forget. Under stress, if your manual safety is engaged, you're going to forget to take it off. I see it all the time with people who aren't under any stress. They come into the range and they're shooting, and then it's, excuse me, can you help me? My gun's not working. Yeah, it is, man. Just take the safety off. Oh, I forgot. I know you did, because you don't train to it. The second thing is, even if you didn't forget, it's going to slow you down, because we have the safety that's engaged here. Instead of just, oh, I got my gun out, the bad guy's in front of me, boom, I can't do it. I have to, instead of doing one, I have to do 1, 2. You're already behind the 8 ball because the bad guy decided that this was the opportune time to come attack you and you didn't expect it. So you're slowing yourself down even more. The third thing is, even if you don't forget it, people get lax. They get very relaxed when it comes to manual safeties because they're like, oh, hey, Johnny, the gun's on safe, so it's fine. Here you go. And Johnny's like, oh, the gun's on safe. So when, David hands the gun to Johnny, cool, awesome. Click, boom, somebody dies because the internal component that makes this manual safety work was broken. So he was still allowed to press the trigger and fire the gun anyway. So it doesn't matter if the gun is on safe. That's not an excuse to not follow the 4 rules of gun safety. You always follow the 4 rules of gun safety. And rule number 2 is finger off the trigger till you've acquired your sights, made the decision to fire. Okay? And then one of the most common ones that I get is, oh, I have kids. I get it. There are various ways to store your gun and so on and so forth. But let me tell you this. I get a lot of families that come in from California and Illinois, and I can speak to 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl. The 2 boys were around 10 and 12 years old, and the girl was 9, maybe 10. The family comes in, they're like, oh, we want to learn how to shoot as a family. We've never been around guns before. We couldn't have guns where we lived, so we want to get involved with it. All right, I hand little Susie a 22 because it's a, small bullet. There's not going to be any recoil. It's something easy for her to learn on. The 22 has a manual safety. They've never seen guns in real life before. Susie's 9 years old. I hand Susie the gun. The first thing she does is she looks at it, takes the safety off, and then looks at me like, all right, now what do you want me to do? I haven't said anything, but she already knew to take off the manual safety. Kids are smart. If they know that they can do this, it's only a matter of time, maybe 15, 20, 30 seconds or so, that they're gonna figure out, oh, I need to push this down. I've seen it 3 times with people who have never seen guns in real life. So I'm not a fan of it. Guns have manual safeties, guns have internal safeties already. This is a Glock 17 that I've already taken apart. It has a trigger safety, so I can't press the trigger unless this middle part, this trigger safety, is fully depressed. If the sides of it get pressed, trigger doesn't move. Okay, so that means that something would have to get inside the trigger guard and depress the trigger safety 5 pounds. Highly unlikely. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then once you take the gun apart, you have this thing right here. This is the firing pin block. It literally blocks the firing pin, which is right here, from hitting the bullet. And then you have this back here. I spoke of this already in my semi-auto handgun. It's one of my earlier videos. I think it was maybe my second or third video. This is a crossbar. The crossbar holds the firing pin away from the firing pin block. So when you defeat the trigger safety, the firing pin block gets pushed out of the way, and then the crossbar releases the firing pin. Boom, the gun goes off, and then everything resets. So people say, oh, but that means if I depress the trigger safety, then it's going to defeat the other two safeties and the gun's going to go off. Yeah, it's a gun. What do you want it to do? I tell you what, how about you keep your finger off the trigger until you've acquired your sights and made the decision to fire. Always treat the gun as if it's loaded. Don't point it at anything you're not willing to destroy, and know your target and what's beyond it. Nothing bad happens. The only time that I'm like, hey, a manual safety on this handgun is okay, is something like this. So let's see, it's not ambidextrous, it's only on one side. So this is a 1911. All right, so this 1911 has a very light trigger press. It feels like maybe 2.5 pounds. If I was going to carry this 1911, which I wouldn't because I prefer carrying other things, but if I was going to carry this, I'm going to carry with one in the chamber. All right, this is a single action, it's not a double action. So that means it's going to have to be cocked back. The hammer is cocked. So with the trigger being this light, I would probably push up the thumb safety. But I don't want to have to deal with the manual safety, which is why I wouldn't even carry it for self-defense purposes in the first place. Now, would I buy a 1911? Absolutely, I think they're great. I think they shoot great. But having to do this before I try to stop somebody from causing me serious bodily harm or potentially even death, I'm not a fan of it. It might be all you can do to get the gun out and start shooting from here. And you're not gonna be thinking about that safety. So if you have one on there, if you have a manual safety on your gun, great. If you're like, no, I'm going to use it, okay, great. Train to it. Every time you press out, take the manual safety off, look like this. Safety's on. That's another thing. Manual safeties, some are very difficult to get up and very difficult to take off. Some are a little too flimsy and it'll be up, but it'll fall into the off position just because it's not tight or whatever the case may be. So you gotta think about that too. But what I want to practice is, as I'm pressing out, I'm gonna do this left-handed so you can see, as I'm pressing out, I'm taking the safety off. I'm shooting, and then when I bring the gun back, I'm putting the safety back on. Off, on, man, that's hard. Let's see if I can do it with my right thumb. Off, on, that's tight. Off, on, forever. You want to get used to that so when your heart falls to the floor, you won't have to think about it. It's just muscle memory at that point. All right, but I just wanted to give that PSA. I hear that a lot. People think that the guns go off by themselves unless they have manual safeties. This is not the case. Go train, keep training, and train some more. Appreciate you watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with 5 people, all that. Romine.